What's up, guys? Monday, vlog number 11. Feeling a pretty good rhythm. I'm a little off level here. There we go. Ran 5 miles today, so I'm gonna be up in my Monday and Friday volume probably. I might hold my Sunday volume, like not really grow that long, slow distance, that LSD day, as I call them, the long, slow runs on Sundays. I might hold off on increasing that volume a little bit later into the year. First race of the year is going to be in Charlotte in North Carolina. It was the first race I did last year, but at that time I did the 5K version, and I'll be doing the 10K version. Thinking about that before this, and it's kind of crazy for a couple reasons, one of which, if you rewind back to December, January, in the holidays and traveling, training got really out of whack. I really lost my routine, really took time off. I traveled back to Illinois to visit family and had a couple trips throughout there. I got to run a little bit, but my volume definitely dropped off pretty significantly. I had a snowboard trip as well. So I was feeling pretty down on myself, but then getting back into it a little bit more consistently at the beginning of last month up until now, I feel really great. It's almost like I haven't lost anything. And so I think that there's a takeaway there of understanding that there is some downtime and stuff, and there is some deload that I think you should plan in, and that as long as you're not quitting for very long periods of time, and as long as you're really sticking with it, at least maintaining some level of fitness, there might be some drop off, but you can gain it back pretty quick. Now, in the past, I've usually, like I did triathlon training 2017. I've done training in the past of various sorts, and I really fell off for a couple years, like a year, 2 years, 3 years. And that's way too much time. But a couple weeks at a little bit lower volume, I think it's been fun. I think that's a really good takeaway. A couple thoughts I had today. So I quit drinking, or cut out alcohol, basically is probably the better way to say it. Probably about 4 weeks now. I didn't really start at the same time I did last year. Last year I went 7 months without any alcohol, and it really helps me with training. It helps me with clarity of mind. One big thing, and really the key thing that I want to talk about today as kind of helpful in regards to training and helpful in regards to basically just improving myself, is journaling. And I write down a lot of notes throughout the day, and logging your work, like logging your workouts, logging your nutrition. Each of these things, like whatever you measure and whatever you maintain some consistency in, that's going to be way more successful. So it also gives you measurements to let you know when you're headed in the right direction or when you're headed in the wrong direction. I think in some cases that's very important, because if you stop measuring, a lot of times you'll lose track. You'll get out of whack and you'll head the wrong way, at least in my experience. And additionally in that, so physically, that's easy, right? There's apps and stuff, or you can have a little notebook and you write down your workouts. You can write down how they went. You can write down a couple notes, times, mileage, pace, or weight, reps, sets, any kind of way that you think about it, right? Even with climbing, there's ways to track and understand the grades and how long you climbed and what you did. So, but mentally, I think it's a little bit different, and understanding ways to increase your clarity. Maybe it's a little less monitoring and measuring, but for me, the articulation of writing out and journaling every single day and getting the thoughts out of my head and having to think them through to get them on paper in a way that makes any sort of sense, it's been a very powerful tool for me in the past. I fell off right around the same time, or maybe even before, kind of lost journaling there more so than physical training. Physical training was easier for me to upkeep for some reason, even though I travel everywhere with a little notebook, a little journal, pretty much at all times. Now I have a couple. I have one for my house. I have one I take with. I just buy a lot of books, used books to read and cheap books to write in. just so I guess they're always around. I guess I like paper. But in that, the idea of articulation, of taking an idea that you might have in your head and giving it some weight on paper and really trying to flesh it out, asking questions around it, trying to get into the feelings behind it, trying to get in and understand the point and some of the logic that you might have in your brain. Once you get it on a paper, you realize that it's not as smooth, or it doesn't make as much sense. And in the times where I'm journaling the most, I know that I speak more clearly. I communicate in a way that's easy for people to interpret. I'm more thoughtful when I speak. I listen better. I ask better questions to help my understanding of the other person when I'm having a conversation. Because I've basically been doing it with myself in the form of journaling, right? Like trying to understand. And I guess I've been a person that has walked around assuming I understand everything all the time, myself and other people. And I think that a big growth step for me was understanding that I really don't. And journaling really helps in a lot of different regards. And really communicating with other people and sharing some experiences, this being one way that I'm going to do that now, it's very helpful to get them out of your head, to really talk about it, to really write it down and think it through. It's just something that I found to be incredibly helpful. So go anywhere you can, buy a cheap notebook. Hell, it can be even one of those composition notebooks, back in the day. Hated those when I was younger, kind of like them now. They're sleepers, Something about being a grown-ass man writing in one of those composition notebooks just kind of makes me giggle every time. But whatever tool you want to use, or use your computer, use your notes app on your phone, on an iPhone, or Android, I'm sure has the equivalent. Google Keep. Start jotting things down. Start thinking them out. Start thinking them through. Act as if you have to explain it to another human being. It's a pretty significant challenge that as you go through it and as you continue to outpour your thoughts, I think it provides a level of clarity, both in the thoughts and just to yourself, right? There's not rattling around all the time. Suffer from a bit of anxiety, and it helps really clear that out. Because I'm basically pouring all those thoughts out onto a piece of paper and challenging myself to make it make sense. And some of the ones that don't just kind of evaporate. You can cross those suckers out. They ain't real. So think about journaling. Think about monitoring your physical activity and measuring that over time so that way you can see your progression. These are really helpful ways for me that have helped me improve over the last year or two. So it's my recommendation. Race coming up, getting ready for it. Good run tonight. Imagine I'll have some more good workouts this week. Other than that, have a safe night.